So let's go over this together. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, I'm Chevy Cool Lady. We are discussing the Mica Francis case. We're discussing the Fiznews broadcast that was just done, talking to Rev Millie Joy. I really totally enjoyed this. However, this subject is triggering, so let me give you a warning about that. We're talking about issues of um, DVCC, possibly self harm. If that's hard for you to handle and you don't want to right now, then please opt out and I'll see you next time. God bless you. But for those of you who want some information that's very helpful, I'm here for you tonight. Please remember to like and subscribe. We're trying to get the news out to as many ears who can listen, and any interaction with this channel does get the message out. Justice for Mica. Justice for all who are being abused or whose lives have been snuffed out at the hands of an abuser. I'm just going to let you know right now that I'm a voice for the voiceless. I'm not on anybody's particular side other than the side of the victim and, of course, the side of justice. All right, guys. So this was an interview with the Reverend Millie Joy, who's been a consistent protester at the Justice for Mica rallies outside the um, Solid Rock Church here in Myrtle Beach every week. Um, I've seen her running around in that Spider-Man mask in 100-degree weather, and I know that the protest has not been easy for anybody. I have somebody trying to hog the camera from me, but I found out that she's the mother of six, and I can relate because I've raised six kids myself. I had seven. One went to be with the Lord at a very early age. At only 6 weeks, but I know about the busy household, and I'm proud of you, Rev Millie Joy, and I really liked what you had to say. This was also pretty much conducted by Cammie Lyons of Fiznews, and also we had the research director, Jen Woods. We've seen her a lot at these Mica um, events, and has been just a blessing. Just a blessing. Okay, so um, I learned a little bit about Rev, Rev Millie Joy at 4 years old. Her aunt was a victim of DV. That was something she had to grow up with. And hey, guys, it's really good to see you. I'm glad your mother must have been a fine-looking woman there. I'm just playing with you. I'm so glad you're joining me tonight. But like many of us who have joined the fight with Justice for Mica, um, everybody doing their part, you know, um, many of us are survivors. And she said, oh, it was so sweet. She said, survivors are her heroes. Reverend Millie Joy. She's working in counseling now. She works in ministries. She works with survivors. Um, she had known Mica just from, hi guys, thank you for joining me. Um, she knew Mica from a coffee shop that she worked at and would see her, you know, but had no idea the trouble that Mica had been going through, you know, and like so many people, it's such a common thing that, you know, I'm always telling everybody, somebody you know is probably in a DV situation. They're very good at hiding it, and it might be someone at church, it might be someone at school, it might be your neighbor, it might be the girl at the grocery store. but it's become an epidemic in this land, and one we're working to stomp out. We all have stories, we all have voices, and when someone's being abused, their voice is taken from them. And, you know, it's just so sad. Their human rights are denied them just because of coercive control, which defined it is a pattern of abusive behavior, or I should say, a pattern of behavior designed to manipulate or control another person. It's a pattern of behavior. In order to prove it legally, I understand it, that you have to show that it happened more than twice. Um, we've documented so much of coercive behavior and we've talked about it. Please look at my other videos if you're interested in some more information on that particular um, point. But she knew Mica, like I was saying, from the coffee shop. She knew a few people at Solid Rock, and they began calling her after Mica's death, and presenting this situation that just doesn't seem to any of us to make any sense. And she began attending the protests. She said, it wasn't apparent to her at the time that she'd seen Mica for that little brief period that she was going through all this. Um, but one thing we all know is that Mica was a minister throughout her pain. She never gave up in trying to encourage other people and to do for other people. And, Mica never quit right to the end. Most of us don't believe she did that to herself, or, there's just a bunch of stuff with that, but we all know that the pattern of behavior that she went through, that was disclosed in all the affidavits and all the documents and the countless stories, there was behavior that was designed to manipulate Mica for sure. In this story, um, we've seen a lot of evidence come to light. It's brought forth a lot of issues concerning mental health and spiritual abuse. CC being a specific terminology, coercive control. I believe it's like actually can be defined in legal terms. And the sad thing about it is there's a lot of states that hold coercive control as a legitimate point of dispute in the law, but I know Hawaii does, and there's a few other, but unfortunately South Carolina does not recognize CC. What is CC? Just in a few words, it's isolating. It's, like I said, it's a systematic pattern. It's a pattern of behavior. Isolation, intimidation, manipulation, all designed to control another human being. We've even seen in this particular case the alleged use of mental health facilities and medications. Coercive control. It's ugly. It's horrible. It's horrifying. And it's illegal. It's a crime. Or it should be, right? Mica's list needs to become Mica's law, outlining the framework that the victim can depend on to be held up in court. Degradation. We talked about all these things. With law enforcement, they're not even trained to recognize coercive control. They basically are put in situations that they have to come up with snap decisions, and because coercive control is so crafty and so manipulative that it's not easy to abuse. If you walk, or it's not easy to see the abuse. If you come and someone's in a physical altercation, it's pretty easy to see, what's going on or can figure something out. It's a lot easier than the type of behavior that is wearing a person's whole disposition down where when they go to make these reports, they themselves sound like they're not quite in touch with reality. That's it's all designed to to coercive control is designed to control another person at whatever length it has to go to. We talked about, and this was brought out by some other content creators, that many of the people at the protests and many of the people involved in creating content are victims of abuse themselves, or have been in households or close situations where they experienced the devastation that it can bring, and that's why we've joined together in whatever way that we can to offer a voice. PTSD can be an issue, and that adds to the victim's um, mental state too. And protesters are also susceptible to their own struggles to keep their thoughts good and their selves mentally healthy. Um, because sometimes you feel like you're not being heard. You feel frustrated that justice is grinding slow. There can be so many different trigger points, as we see. um, Reverend uh, Millie Joy brought out some things, the challenges that happen in a protest, as you see the emergent personalities engaged with their own past traumas, interacting with each other. It's almost like what you call like a social experiment, just watching the interaction of the protesters and the things that come out, just on that particular level. I'm not trying in any way minimize it. I'm just stating a point. It's so important that the voice for the voiceless is reaching the ears of the public. Reverend Millie talked about division that spreads and plays throughout the crowd. Individuals can become targeted, and as that particular whatever individual or several individuals that have been targeted, um, that becomes a thing. It becomes a source of division. It becomes spreading. You know, and it really unintentionally plays right into the hands of the people who would be opposing the Justice for Mica rallies and protests. Why anyone would want to be against, the, making a protective escape for people who need it, I don't know, but apparently some people are that way. But infighting takes away from the mission was another bullet point. How does Reverend Millie handle it? This is what she said. She says, sometimes you just got to embrace just the situation as it is. Just embrace it. Ignore the negative as much as humanly possible. Avoid it and ignore it. And Jen Wood chimed in with, what people think of you is none of your business. It's none of your business what people think of you. And I think that's what she said. There's battle strategies for going into the protest, or going into creating content on the subject. It's a dark matter, and we need to keep some light and air circulating around us. Hi, Amelia Moo and Nico 123. Uh, Shaker Moran 138. Ali Shan Williams and Saidi. And if I'm saying things wrong, please excuse me. I'm in the deep south and we talk funny. And don't know how to read very well. I don't anyway. No, I do. I'm just playing. All right. Anyway, um, Basically, we're talking about battle strategies. Hi, kitty cat. Hi, baby. Uh, you know, as the fight continues for justice and the emergent personalities with the varying past trigger points come up, it's good to, keep your own thoughts in a good place, um, so that you can overcome that sense of not being heard, not seeing the wheels of justice turn fast enough. Of course, scripture transforms the mind. And, it, it for me, you know, is the hope, is the light, is everything to keep my mind sane and just good, just cleansed. Keep keep scripture, keep positive encouragement before your eyes. Sometimes I've heard people talk about the line of sight. I'm just adding this in, and just throughout your house, in the line of sight, put scripture and encouraging, beautiful things where you can see it, and it goes into you. It just builds up the spirit man. Um, Counseling, if you need it, there's all kinds of counseling available. Whatever you're comfortable with. There's even online. I don't know. I've never tried that, but there's all kinds of things, all kinds of good words. There's all kinds of good teaching. Um, but you have to also embrace that your voice is being heard. It's being heard. And you are validated. And you're doing so good. And I'm so proud of all of you guys. Whether you're in any way, whatever way that you're supporting justice for Mica, justice for the underdog and the abused and the deceased and the missing, the voice for the voiceless. I am proud. I am so proud of you. And you are doing great. Um, Rev Millie said, if you don't like me, that's okay. If you don't like me, that's okay with me. I bless you to not like me. You don't have to like me. And I'm okay with that. And that's a good attitude. I'm going to adopt for myself. If you don't like me, that's okay. We talked about I throw myself into it. I wasn't there. They talked about organized harassment, coercive control, and organized harassment, and you're seeing that come against the protesters. It's come about in a lot of different ways. Basically, it's an invasion of boundaries and personal space. It's very hard to prove. It's very hard to prove. It's repeated and it's unwanted. It's an intrusion to cause discomfort or even make the person feel that they should doubt their own mental health. Designed for it, okay? The focus even can shift from individual to individual. It's a real thing. It's documented. It's been experienced not just by your, like Rev Millie said, the tinfoil hat people, but by you know all kinds of people in all kinds of different walks of life, including professionals, including doctors. You know, it is a real thing, and as Kelly said, it's highly effective. It's highly effective. Um, it's been recognized even by one of the writers in Psychology Today, Joe Pierre. It's been recognized for at least 15 years. I myself was targeted at one particular point right about 15 years ago. And even when you're telling somebody what's going on, it's so unbelievable. And some of the things seem ludicrous, and because it's a pattern of events designed to make you doubt or your own stability or totally lose it, it, it's unreal. But I've seen some, and it does sound just out there from a lot of people, and some of the stories of targeted individuals and targeted groups and targeted people within the groups. It's bad, and it's out of control, and it's evil. It's freaking evil. Um, some of the things that have happened at the protests, according to Rev Millie, and she said this is a short list: incidents of organized harassment, the doxing of individuals, their private information being made public, false police reports. I won't even say anything about police reports. Someone even had nails in their tire. Up to 7 nails have been repeatedly put in this person's tire. Submission of false information. Um, different conversations, texts skewed, whatever. I'd probably need to see an example of exactly what that is, but I think you've seen some examples in the past affidavit that was turned in. Some retirement couples say that their doorbells ringing and stuff like that by young people who don't live there, just to annoy the elderly who can't get around so good, where you're not allowed to solicit door to door, and that just annoying thing, just annoying and possibly dangerous, and you don't know where these things can lead. You know, you'd like to think they run away. What if they don't run away? What if one time they decide to barge in and it's a home invasion now? I don't know. Things can escalate just on the turn of a dime. Um, Somebody said they broke into their porch and stole all the Justice for Mica signs. Who would want that? Someone who wants to put a stop to the protests and the signage.
Why?
Why would they do that? Money? There's money at stake. I remember somebody say they were losing like $1,200 a week or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember the numbers. That could be wrong. But a large amount of money was being basically lost because there's not the you know people in attendance that once were, allegedly. Um, so money, money, money. There's always a money trail. There's always somebody that'll benefit in some way. And in this particular case, somebody would benefit if the um, protests just stopped, wouldn't they? Somebody wanted it to go away and never start. Yeah. And now here we are all these months later, and it is going on, and it's strong. And there's plans for more, and there's a push then on the legislative um, arena. Um, Rev Millie talked about some more reasons why someone would want to stop the protests, because it seems like a game. It seems like it is kind of like tit for tat, this back and forth thing that's been going on right from the beginning, like a game, like a game. Who likes to play games? Hmm. Somebody who loves drama, yes. Um, and all the more reason to hide it has come out since the many interviews that have taken place that have been conducted by professionals who recognize certain personalities, like histrionic personality disorder, and body language experts who feel like something isn't right, something ain't right, you know all kinds of things. But I wanted to let you know how that show was. I'll put the link in the description, and I suggest you watch that. That's Fiznews, a conversation about Mica. We're putting the word out about um, putting an end to CC and DV, abusive behavior in general. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. It needs to stop. I love you guys. I appreciate your support. Thank you for joining me for this live. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate you, and we'll get the word out together. Justice for Micah.